pedagogy should be used, how digital pedagogy should be used as a mainstream for teaching. So some universities have embraced this approach, as mentioned by Blewett in 2016. However, there is still some hesitancy to this part because the university, the present business model that we have, views students as consumers rather than learners. And then within this context, we think that knowledge exchange among learners becomes crucial for the engagement and academic performance for students. We have 3 research objectives within this paper. The first one is to identify key trends in the literature on digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing. The second one is to explore the mechanisms of knowledge sharing behavior in online learning. And the third one is to develop a framework of knowledge sharing, enabling online learners. So we think that by achieving these objectives, the findings of this study will contribute to the theoretical understanding. There might be some practical implementation. And well, we hope that this opens the research agenda for future research in the field of digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing in higher education. Right. So for the literature review, well, the main theory that we have that we use in our paper is Nonaka's theory of organizational knowledge creation. Nonaka has this concept of BA, which holds significant importance in comprehending the dynamics of knowledge sharing. So this is our main theory that we base our methodology on. The other authors that we find in the literature are Cheng, Ipe, and Seonjin. They all discuss how knowledge sharing involves a lot of infrastructure construction and communication within a group. We also go and discuss what is the sharing of tacit knowledge, which occurs primarily through the face-to-face interactions. And then we also try to explain how this, compared to the explicit knowledge, is commonly shared through information technology platform like the ones we use at university just now, like Canvas. Other authors that discuss the use of digital technologies are also Gupta in 2000, Kim and Lee 2006, and Selamat et al., where they talk about how providing virtual spaces for socialization and knowledge pooling is important for online learners. Finally, we also discuss how face-to-face and mediated interactions through either by a tutor or a professor are vital for the knowledge sharing, requiring the consideration of the individual and the structural determinants. So the methodology that we use. We have a 4-step methodology that we use for collecting and analyzing the literature on digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing. We draw some inspiration from previous systematics reviews by Davarsani et al. 2016 and Fahiminia et al. 2015, sorry, the first one 16. This is a 4-step methodology that was employed to ensure that we have a more comprehensive and rigorous analysis. The first step of the methodology involved defining appropriate search terms and keywords. To achieve this, what we used were focus groups, allowing for identification of keywords while reducing personal bias. The resulting was 4-tier search strings that use the terms related to knowledge exchange, higher education, e-learning, and students. These help us to ensure that we targeted the right population, which was online e-learning, and will also help us with the comprehensive search process. In the second step, we had an initial search and screening of articles. For this, we use Oscopus. to find the citation and to go through the citation and abstract database to retrieve the relevant articles. The defined search string was applied through title, keyword, and abstract. And at the beginning, we found 402 articles. Then after the screening process, we were able to get down to 173. So with this, we selected the articles that align closely with the research objectives from our research. Now, the third step involved conducting initial data statistics. We analyzed publishing trends in the field of digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing. This trend analysis spanned from 1997 to 2023, and we noticed a consistent growth in publications with a significant surge in the recent years, particularly after the pandemic. So this analysis provides us with valuable insights into the landscape of digital pedagogy, how it's evolving, and it highlighted the increasing importance of knowledge sharing in online learning environments. The fourth and final step of the methodology was the data analysis, which consists of bibliometric analysis and network analysis. So for the bibliometric analysis, we had data summaries that shed light on the research activities and impact. And then we finally use Post Viewer to visualize and analyze the bibliometric networks that was conducted in this analysis. So this final step enabled us to have a comprehensive examination of the influential papers and work that emerged during this period of study in the field of digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing. So for those of you might not be familiar with bibliometric analysis, well, it's a powerful tool that allows researchers to explore the trends of academic publications. And for a particular research, we were focusing on the field of digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing from 1997 to 2023. So we analyzed a large body of scholarly work that provided us some insight on the evolution of research in this field over time. We could find the emerging topics, which studies were the most influential, what gaps are there in knowledge. We also noticed that one key aspect of bibliometric analysis is the ability of uncovering author and country influence. So we examined the contribution of several authors, and with this, it becomes a possibility to identify the most influential figures for example, in our research in the field of digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing. Similarly, the analysis revolves around the publishing activities of different countries. It reveals the geographical regions that have made significant contributions to the research. So this insight into the author and country influence not only showcase the diversity and global nature of this field, but also provide opportunities for collaboration and knowledge exchange among researchers worldwide. So that was the bibliometric analysis. Now we move on to the network analysis. As mentioned before, we use BuzzViewer for that. So with network analysis, it just gives you at a glance the underlying themes and the correlations among the keywords that we use in our research in the field of digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing. So through this co-occurrence analysis, which is inspired by the work of Ravi Kumar et al. In 2015 and Stegman and Grothman in 2003, the relationships between keywords are explored, and they reveal to you the important patterns within the literature. So this analysis provides us with insight into the connections and interdependencies among the key concepts, facilitating us a more comprehensive understanding of the field. So one of the tools, well, the main tool we use is BuzzViewer, because you can map keyword occurrence networks and determine the significance and influence of these keywords. So Waldman et al. In 2020 demonstrated how this tool enables the visualization and analysis of complex networks. So for our work, we noticed that within a sample of these 172 articles, there were 556 keywords identified. And then these were subsequently clustered into 7 literature clusters based on dominant keywords. These clusters, well, obviously they varied in size. They range from 70 keywords to 9 keywords, providing a more structured representation of the main themes and topics within the digital pedagogy and knowledge sharing literature. So through this network analysis, our students offers a methodology to explore the relationships and patterns among keywords, providing a valuable insight of the interconnectedness and significance of these key concepts within the field. Now, my colleague Flor is going to discuss the results and discussion. Flor?
Hi, can you hear me, Blanca?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So do you want to use your own presentation or you want me to just continue?
I think it's better if I use my own presentation.
Okay.
You don't mind?
No worries. Yep.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Oops. I cannot see. Can you tell me what you can see? Blanca?
But we can see your presentation, but it is not full screen.
Okay.
Results and discussion, slide number 2. Yeah, it's not in full size.
No.
My computer is just stopped. It's not doing what it's supposed to do.
The other one.
What can you see, Flor?
Yes, now it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cannot see you. If you want, you can switch on your camera.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So let's now talk about the results. The keyword concurrence analysis identifies 7 literature clusters. The first cluster is interpersonal motivation. Then we have social networking technologies and computer-assisted collaborative learning. These 3 clusters are very well defined. They are quite stable in the analysis. But however, we identified other clusters such as technology as acceptance, learning environment, learning readiness, and knowledge management. All these clusters are not very well developed in the literature, which means that it's, it could be a research area that for the future. So I'm going to talk, or I'm going to focus on the first 3 clusters. So the first cluster is more about factors that can drive knowledge sharing, and it's more like a personal or students' internal motivation. So that could be, for instance, factors like self-efficacy and trust. So by efficacy, what we mean is that is the ability of the students to actually have confidence that they can use the media of the digital resources. So that confidence is very well linked to the need to promote internal literacy. And other factor that the literature in this cluster discuss quite a lot is about trust. So the trust that the students have for themselves and also for the people that they are working with. So these two factors are the main factors that motivate this interpersonal motivation, and is it seems that is correlated to knowledge sharing in virtual environments. Then we have cluster number 2, that is more about social networking technologies. So here the cluster looks around social media characteristics, individual factors, such as, for instance, social media characteristics such as team or individual interaction, if it is formal or informal. We have also some individual factors that affect how the students get involved in the social networking. It could be something around how the enjoyment that they have with the technology, for instance. And then we have some environmental factors that affect in these clusters. And then we have the cluster number 3, that is computer-assisted collaborative learning. This cluster is more about the functions of the technology itself. So there are researchers that are trying to find out, for instance, which function of a specific technology affect more knowledge sharing. And the research seems to show that there are some functions that will affect and others don't. We have also a discussion about transactive memory system that talks about how it is important, the knowledge of the group where the students get involved. So it's not only about that the students are confident in their digital skills, but also that they trust and they get knowledge from the group that they're working on, because in case of having any questions, so they need some expertise, they know where to go. So that is something that is very important in order for them to be confident and then share their knowledge. And as I said, some communication functions. Some scholars also look at very specific functions from the technology. So these are the 3 main clusters that we found. But as I mentioned before, there are other clusters that it seems that they are emerging. So they are important to look at the long term for future research. In terms of publication trends, the publication trends indicates a slow growth until 1997, and then it accelerated in recent years, and the year 2022 has been the most productive year so far. And we believe that this is because of the pandemic and how all higher institutions relied on digital technology during this time. In terms of global contributions, where we found that the author influence analysis reveals very limited contribution from authors. So there are very few scholars that have contributed constantly to this area. Only 4% of the authors contributed to more than one paper. In terms of country influence, well, here it shows the involvement of leading and non-traditional countries. And this is good because it reflects diverse perspectives. So in a very usual way, the United States is a top performer in regards to the author's influence and also the number of publications. But that is followed by Australia and Malaysia. Europe representation is increasing. But I think that one of the important aspects of the findings was that the contributions have also come from Asian countries: Malaysia, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, India, and Bahrain. So this is something very positive. Now, in terms of what what else we can do in terms of research? Well, we also observe that Africa countries have yet to make significant contributions. So our colleagues from Africa, they really can embrace this topic, and they have a scope for contribution. Now, the limitations of the study doesn't include non-academic publications or broader academic articles. So it is only peer review articles that we included. And for future research, that's the finding, that's the conclusion. What we wanted to come at with this publication is, first of all, we think that it is important to explore the dynamics of interaction within the virtual bar theory. So we talk about the virtual bar in the literature review, and we think that if we use this virtual bar as a framework, it will be very suitable for specifically for how the knowledge sharing is done in the virtual environments. That will help to understand the forces that shape knowledge sharing behavior in the virtual space. So the other aspect is about the African scholars that have the potential to contribute significantly to the field, and this given the continent's young and very tech-savvy population. And also it will be very interesting to see how the tradition of oral storytelling affects knowledge sharing in the virtual space. And there is opportunity to incorporate non-academic publications and broader academic articles in this type of research. And that's all. That's all, the conclusion. Thank you.